Just knocked on the door with a Tupperware container in one hand and a folded note in the other. I was wrong, she said. About the party, about everything. She sat down on my couch like she'd done it 100 times before, like we were fine, like none of this had happened. I should have stopped, Ron, she said. I should have said something. I just didn't know how to react. I didn't respond. I just stared at the note in her hand. It's from Ron, she said. He wrote it in the hospital. I unfolded the paper. It was sloppy, probably written in a rush. You embarrassed me, but maybe I deserved it. I don't know what's wrong with me anymore. You were always the one who showed up when no one else did. Maybe that's why I resented you. I'm sorry. Tell Max I was wrong. No excuses, just raw honesty. It caught me off guard. And then came the third curveball. Max, he didn't say much in the days after the party. Stayed quiet, read books, built Lego cities. But one night, I found a note on his pillow. Dad, I'm glad you didn't laugh with him. Ron looked pale now. And here, I added, slapping down another one on the table. A list of every time I paid for your kids' school lunches because the balance was accidentally overdue. Want me to keep going? I didn't ask you to do that, Ron snapped, voice rising. You chose to. That was your decision. Yeah, I said, because I thought it was the right thing to do. But apparently doing the right thing in this family means getting kicked in the teeth. Now everyone was quiet. Even my cousin Rich, who usually can't shut up, stared at the grass. Ron tried again. This is pathetic. You're seriously turning my birthday gift to your kid into a soap opera. No, I said. You turned his birthday into your twisted little roast session. What? You needed to humiliate a 10-year-old to feel tall again? My mom tried to step in. Let's all just sit down. No, I snapped. This isn't just about today. This has been building for years. Every birthday, every holiday. He stared at me, jaw tight, fists clenched like he wanted to swing, but he didn't because he had nothing. I turned to Max. He was still holding his little crushed birthday card. His lip was trembling, but his back was straight. I crouched down next to him. You okay? I asked. He nodded. I'm proud of you, I said. You hear me? Not for being ranked, for being kind, for being better than the people who should have protected you today. He swallowed hard. Can we go home? Yeah, I said. We're done here. I stood up, grabbed the folder, and ripped it in half. Let the pieces fall to the grass. Turned to Ron one last time. Don't ever come near my son again. You're being dramatic, he muttered. I laughed. Nah, just clear. I walked past the whole group. Not one of them tried to stop me. Not one apology, not one word. I opened the car door, let Max climb in, and as I sat down behind the wheel, I realized my hands weren't shaking anymore. For the first time in years, I didn't feel guilt. I felt done, free. I thought walking out of that party would be the end. At his birthday party, my uncle handed my son a printed chart of top kids in the family and said, "You're not even on it." Everyone laughed until I dropped a folder labeled confidential in front of him. This happened a week ago at my son's 10th birthday party. I still get angry thinking about it. We were celebrating in my parents' backyard. Nothing fancy, just balloons, a fold-out table, snacks, and a cake with way too much blue frosting. My wife and I had planned everything ourselves. Max was finally excited. He doesn't like big groups, but he really wanted his cousins there this year. Then my Uncle Ron showed up. He walked in late like always, holding a rolled-up paper in one hand and a bag of chips in the other. Got a special present for the birthday boy, he said loud enough to turn every head. Max lit up. He thought it was something cool. Ron handed him the paper. Go ahead, open it, he said. This one's educational. Max unrolled it slowly. About the money, the support, about you. Inside the envelope, bank statements, text message screenshots, even a PayPal receipt with my name on it. Over $12,000, over 6 years. Money I'd sent for emergencies, repairs, school fees, all funneled through different names. Some of it went to Ron directly, some through his daughter, some through a mutual friend who just needed help. He'd orchestrated the whole thing. My stomach turned. You didn't deserve what happened at that party, she said. He's not well mentally or physically, but that doesn't excuse it. I nodded slowly, flipping through the papers. In the ranking thing, she added, that wasn't even supposed to be for Max. He made that list a while ago. Used to joke about it at barbecues, but when he printed a new version with Max's name left off, I knew something was off. That was the first twist, but it wouldn't be the last. Later that week, my mom showed up at my house. No warning. It wasn't. I should have known better. In my family, silence doesn't mean peace. It means they're regrouping, plotting, figuring out how to make you the villain in your own story. The next morning, I had a dozen missed calls. Cousins, my mom, even my aunt who lives 3 states away. All the voicemails said the same thing, just with different levels of fake concern. You didn't have to go that far. He's your uncle. He had a heart attack. This is a family. Families don't humiliate each other like that, right? Because publicly humiliating a 10-year-old on his birthday. Totally fine, but responding to it too far. Around noon, my phone rang again. This time it was Ron's wife. I stared at the screen for a full minute before I picked up. Hey, she said quietly. Can we talk? Her voice was off. No hostility, just tired. We met at a coffee shop later that day. She looked like she hadn't slept. No makeup, hair pulled back. She slid a thick envelope across the table. He's been lying to everyone, she said. He read the title out loud, stumbling a bit. Top kids in the family ranked by behavior, achievements, and attitude. I swear to God I thought it was a joke that would turn around, but no. There were names, actual rankings, photos, stupid point scores. Sarah helped Grandma carry groceries, got an A in math, 15 points. Nate scored twice in soccer, always says please and thank you, 12 points. Ava made her own bed 5 times this month, 9 points. At the very bottom in red, not ranked, Max, for crying during Uno, refusing vegetables, and being a bit of a drama queen. Ron laughed. Hey, you gotta earn your spot next year, champ. Max just stood there. His smile dropped so fast it was like someone unplugged him. The rest of the family, they laughed, not even awkwardly. My sister actually clapped. My cousin Rich shouted, "Oof, brutal but fair." I looked at Max. He was just staring at the chart, holding the birthday card he made for Ron, crumpling it slowly in one hand. You people make little jabs about how sensitive Max is, about how I'm too uptight, about how I make good money and don't do enough with it. Even though half of you wouldn't be standing here with working cars if it weren't for me. My dad sighed, clearly annoyed now. Nobody asked you to play the hero. You did that all on your own. Yeah, I said bitterly. And none of you had a problem with it until I started expecting basic respect in return. Ron slammed his drink down. Man, you're so full of yourself. No, I said, stepping closer. I'm just finally full of you. He scoffed. Whatever, man. Go cry about it on the internet. This is why no one takes you seriously. You know what's funny? I said. You made a chart about kids contributing to the family. But if we made one about adults, about who actually puts in the work emotionally, financially, you wouldn't even crack the top 10. That hit hard because everyone knew it was true. But this ranking children, humiliating my son in front of everyone on his day, that's not family. Ron rolled his eyes. You're really doing all this over a piece of paper? No, I said. I'm doing this over 10 years of swallowing nonsense from you people. This was just the final push. Then I turned to Max. He was still by the window watching everything. You don't ever need to earn your place in this family, I told him. Not with gold stars, not with trophies, and definitely not with someone else's scoreboard. Max nodded, his eyes glossy but steady. My dad finally spoke up. Look, maybe Ron went too far, but let's not make this a scene. It's a party. A scene, I repeated. You think this is about causing a scene? You watched your grandson get humiliated and laughed along. You let it happen. If this is your idea of family, maybe we don't belong here at all. Ron stood up now, chest puffed like he was ready to go full alpha mode. I was just trying to toughen him up. Life's not easy, and someone's got to prepare him. I thought something was wrong with me, but maybe they're just mean. Thank you for leaving with me. I read it 3 times. Then I cried hard, because all those years I thought I had to keep the peace for his sake. He didn't need peace. He needed truth. But it wasn't over. That weekend we got invited to another family event, a barbecue. My mom said just come by. No drama, I promise. I didn't want to go. My wife didn't either. But Max, he wanted to see his cousins. So we went. Ron wasn't there, obviously, but Rich was. So were the others who laughed at the chart. At first they avoided us, whispered, gave polite fake smile nods. Then Rich cornered me by the grill. Hey, he said, chewing on a toothpick. Just so you know, you kind of overreacted. I raised an eyebrow. You think humiliating my kid is funny. It was a joke, man, he said. You turned it into a court case. I didn't yell. I didn't curse. I laughed bitter. Yeah, and who prepared you? Because it clearly didn't work. That was when Max walked up beside me and reached for my hand. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. We were done. I should have walked away right then, but I didn't. Something inside me, years of silently enduring everything, decided I was done. And I wasn't leaving without saying it all. You know what? I said, still standing by that stupid gift table with Ron's smug face in front of me. You want to toughen kids up? How about we start with the grown-ups first? Ron folded his arms. Oh, please. I grabbed the folder again, opened it, and pulled out a few sheets I'd printed the night before. I turned to the group, holding the pages up like flashcards. This is your property tax bill from last March, I said, waving one at him. Paid anonymously. That was me. The crowd shifted. A few gasps. This one, hospital bill for Aunt Linda's hip replacement, covered by a generous family friend. That was me too. And for a second I flashed back to last year, when Max tripped during his own party, face planted into the cake. Everyone laughed then too. Ron said, that's one way to blow out candles, while Max sobbed into my shirt. We left early that day. No one noticed. Back to now. I took the chart out of Max's hands and told him quietly, go inside and wait for me. I went to the hallway where I left my coat, took out the folder I debated bringing at all, labeled in thick red marker, Confidential Family Financial Records 2018 to 2024. When I walked back into the yard, Ron was still laughing. The others were moving on, pretending like nothing weird had happened. I placed the folder down on the gift table. Hard? What's this? Ron asked. I looked him dead in the face. You want to rank kids for how useful they are? Cool. Let's talk about who's been supporting you all this time. Silence. Like real actual silence. Even my mom froze. Max peeked out the window, eyes wide, and for once he saw me standing up, not just for him but for every time they made us feel smaller than we are. When I dropped that folder on the table, the air changed. Uncle Ron blinked like he didn't understand. Wah! Okay, what's all this? I looked around at everyone. This is a list, too. My own little ranking. Only mine's based on who's been paying whose mortgage, who's been covering whose car repairs, and who paid for your wife's hospital bills when you forgot your insurance expired. Dead silence. Ron turned red, not ashamed but angry. Come on, man, he said, forcing a chuckle. It was just a little joke. Something to make the kids laugh. You mean a joke at my son's expense? I said. On his birthday in front of everyone? Ron held up his hands like I was being unreasonable. Okay, listen, it was meant to be motivational, that's all. Something to push Max a little. He's a good kid, sure, but let's be honest, he's soft. That was it. That word soft hit me like a punch. I laughed. Motivational. You ranked children based on fake achievement points like it's some Hunger Games for toddlers. And then you disqualified him for not eating broccoli and crying during a card game. That's motivation to you. It's called tough love, Ron said. We grew up on it. Look how we turned out. I snapped. Oh, you mean bankrupt, twice divorced, and living off your nephew's generosity? I fired back. Yeah, real shining example. His face twisted. You're being dramatic. Kids today are too coddled. No wonder Max cries over every little thing. My wife stood up then, and she never gets involved in these fights. Max cries, she said quietly, because he knows when people don't like him, even when they pretend it's love. I saw my mom shift uncomfortably on her lawn chair. Let's just calm down now. No, actually, let's not, I interrupted. Let's talk about how for years I've been helping all of you quietly, because I didn't want to make anyone feel small, because I thought family meant something. He tried to spin it, told the family she left him because I manipulated her, that she was always unstable, but no one really bought it. Too many people had seen him cross lines for years. The difference was, now they couldn't pretend they hadn't. Max started to thrive. He joined a coding club, started sketching comic books. He even made a top 5 people who actually like me list. I was number 1. The other names, his mom, our neighbor Claire, his teacher, and himself. That last one made me cry. I reconnected with people I hadn't seen in years. Friends I distanced myself from because I was always too busy with family. One of them, Sam, invited us over for a weekend trip to the lake. No drama, no guilt, just laughs, board games, burnt marshmallows. Max told me on the way home, can we do that every year? We can. We will. I'm sorry. That was it. No signature, no explanation, but I knew who it was. And that's the thing about standing up for yourself. When you finally do, it ripples. It shakes loose the lies people have been clinging to. It forces everyone around you to choose who they really are. Some leave, some stay, some apologize, and some just fade away, quietly ashamed. And you? You move on. For the first time in my life, I'm not the reliable one. I'm just me, a father, a husband, a man who finally knows where he ends and where everyone else begins. Max asked me last night if we were still going to see Grandma for the holidays. I said, maybe, but only if we want to. Not because we feel like we have to. He smiled. Then let's stay home. We can make pancakes and watch bad movies. Sounds perfect to me. We don't need a family tree if the roots are rotten. We'll build something new. And this time the soil is clean. But now I know being the reliable one is a trap when you're the only one giving and no one cares how much it costs you. After the fallout, I expected Max to have questions, but he didn't. One night, a week after the barbecue, I found him building something with Legos at the kitchen table. I sat across from him. You doing okay? I asked. He shrugged. Yeah, it's quieter now. That's nice. I nodded. Do you miss them? He paused for a second, then shook his head. Not really. I like it when people like me for real, out of the mouths of babes. Life moved on in ways I didn't expect. Ron's wife ended up leaving him. Not right away, but about 6 weeks after our confrontation, she filed for separation. She called me and said she couldn't pretend anymore, that she'd spent too long covering for him, excusing him. That what he did to Max finally cracked something open in her. She said, you know that kid of yours. He's brave. I hope mine turns out half as good. Ron didn't take it well. My wife and I started therapy, not because we were struggling, but because we wanted to understand how to build something better, how to break the cycle, how to teach our kid that love isn't earned through sacrifice, but given freely. We also started talking about trying for a second child. Funny how life opens up when you shut the wrong doors. As for the rest of the family, it fractured. Not because of me. They'll tell you it was, but I just turned on the lights. They were already full of cracks. I just stopped filling them with glue. Some cousins reached out quietly. One of them said, I wish I had the guts to do what you did. I told her, you don't need guts. You just need to stop lying to yourself about what hurts. I haven't spoken to Ron since, or Rich, or half the people who watched a child be humiliated and chose to laugh. And you know what? That silence is the best sound I've heard in years. The last surprise came 2 weeks ago. I got a card in the mail. No return address. Inside was a photo of Max at his birthday party, the one before the meltdown. He was blowing out the candles, smiling big. The back of the photo had handwriting I didn't recognize at first. He deserved better. I just looked him in the eye and said, if it was your kid and someone handed him a printed list of why he's not good enough, would you still be laughing? He didn't answer. Instead, he walked away. But here's the final twist. After the party, a cousin I barely speak to messaged me, said her daughter had been struggling with anxiety for years, and Ron used to do the same disrespect to her. Tease her, mock her, toughen her up. She cried all the way home after your son's birthday, she wrote, not because of what Ron did, but because someone finally said something. She saw Max leave with you and said, I wish my dad had done that for me. I stared at the message for a long time, because for the first time I realized something. What I did walking out, calling them out, it wasn't just for Max. It was for every kid who's ever been told they're too sensitive, too quiet, too much, not enough. And it was for every adult who still hears those voices in their head and thinks they have to earn love. That day, I didn't just stand up to my family. I stood up for every version of me who never had anyone to stand beside him. It's been 3 months since that day. 3 months since I dropped that black folder labeled confidential on the table. Since I walked out of that party with my son's hand in mine and left behind the people who had been draining me for years under the name of family. It still feels surreal sometimes. At first, I kept expecting someone to pull me back in. That guilt would creep in like it always did. Late at night, lying in bed, I'd hear my mother's voice in my head. You're overreacting. We're your family. But it never hit the same way again. Because this time, Max had seen it all. He'd lived through the humiliation, the silence in the room, the moment when the people who were supposed to love him most laughed at his pain. And more importantly, he saw me say enough. It changed him, and it changed me. I used to think being the reliable one was something to be proud of. The one who always shows up, who pays the bills, who smooths things over, who never makes a scene.